Now to some of the big legal cases we are following in this week's Burden of Proof. Civil rights attorney Ariva Martin joins me to break some of these down. Ariva, good to see you. Thanks for being here on this weekend. Hip-hop mogul Jay-Z facing a rape allegation. Sean Carter, his real name, is doubling down against his accuser, saying she's looking for money and fame, releasing a new statement overnight, calling for the claims to be actually dismissed. What are you watching for in this case?
Well, Sean Carter, Jay-Z has good reason to ask for this case to be dismissed. The accuser came out and did an interview. Now, we didn't get to see her face. We didn't get to learn her name. But in the interview, she gave some statements that were inconsistent with the statements or the accusations, I should say, that are made in her lawsuit. And it does raise serious questions about the credibility of this accuser. One of the things that stood out to me, Phil, was her father. Her father was also contacted by the news media because in her interview, she says her dad picked her up from Sean Diddy Combs' home after she said Jay-Z and Sean Combs raped her. Her dad said he had no recollection of this incident. And clearly a dad, as he said, would remember something this serious, this egregious. So I think there are some serious questions that need to be answered. And the way you get those questions answered when you are a defendant in a lawsuit is by filing the kind of motion that I anticipate we'll see filed by Jay-Z's law firm, because there are questions about the credibility of this accuser.
Fair enough. So let's go over to Sean Diddy Combs. In 2022, so these are more recent claims. Diddy's attorney says the allegations are false. The men's attorney says he was contacted by more than 60 people, but only chose to file these 3 cases so far because he vetted them. I'm wondering if you think we could see more lawsuits of this kind.
Well, absolutely. We know a Houston attorney has said he plans to file over 100 lawsuits against.
What a roller coaster of drama. A woman accusing music giants Jay-Z and Diddy has been making headlines, but now the story has taken a shocking twist. In a surprising turn of events, she was caught live on air admitting to inconsistencies in her story. Let's dive into what happened.
Combs, one thing I think is important, Phil, many of these claims happened 10, 15, 20 years ago, like the case of Jay-Z. And we know, statistically, women in particular don't typically lie about being raped about her claim, but these claims can be very difficult, particularly when they happened so many years ago. Memories fade, information about the claims becomes difficult to ascertain. But in the case of these 3 men that have just filed civil complaints against Sean Combs, these are allegations that are between 2019 and 2022. So they're more recent claims, and they have, again, some very specific allegations in their complaints. Obviously, this may lead to further criminal investigation by prosecutors. And we could see, if these claims are valid or prosecutors believe they are valid, we could see superseding indictments filed against Sean Combs. There are allegations, nothing's been proven in a court of law, but they are very serious and could lead to additional felony charges.
Moving now to country star Morgan Wallen, pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges of reckless endangerment for throwing a chair off the roof of a bar, nearly hitting 2 police officers. He was sentenced to 7 days in a DUI education center and 2 years probation. So first, what are DUI education centers? And then how common is it for people to receive that type of sentence?
Pretty common. Particularly, it appears that this country singer may have an issue with alcohol or maybe substance abuse. When someone has engaged in this kind of conduct, no violence created, no one injured by him throwing the chair off of the roof of this bar. So I think this was the appropriate plea for him, and I think the punishment fits the crime.
All right. Civil rights attorney Ariva Martin. Ariva, thanks so much. Always good to see you.
First, the allegations. This unnamed woman accused Jay-Z, Diddy, and another celebrity of assaulting her at an after-party following the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000. She claimed she was driven from Rochester, New York, to New York City for the event. According to her, Diddy's limo driver offered her a ride to the after-party, where she alleged she was drugged. She said she managed to escape the terrifying situation by calling for help from a nearby gas station.
case, just admitted to making the whole story up.
Chanley Painter is here with the details. Hey, Chanley.
Hey, good morning. That's right. It was a huge national story back in 2006 when Crystal Mangum falsely accused 3 Duke look while she was performing as a stripper at a teen party in March of that year. And now, more than 18 years later, she is finally admitting that she lied about it all, saying this, quote, "I testified and that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. I made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and from God." The 46-year-old also apologized to the 3 Duke players who were all found innocent of the crimes and later sued the university after their case was dismissed in 2007, reaching an undisclosed settlement. And the prosecutor on the case, Mike Nafon, was later disbarred for lying in court and withholding DNA evidence, which ultimately absolved the young men. And at the time, Magnum was not prosecuted for perjury due to questions about her mental health. But she is currently behind bars serving time after a jury convicted her of second-degree murder in the stabbing death of her boyfriend in 2013. And even now, with her admission, Mangum says, Mangum could not be charged, with perjury because of the statute of limitations, of course, in the state of North Carolina. Guys, back to you.
That's right. I mean, we knew she wasn't. We knew she was lying. She got caught lying, but we haven't had her admission. But you pointed out something about her background.
Yeah, I think Chanley just mentioned it. She's serving prison. She's in prison for murdering her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Right, so she's not.
She is, and Chanley mentioned that she cannot be held liable in North Carolina because of the statute of limitations. It's only 2 years. Chanley also mentioned the DA. Remember Nifong? He was on the news all the time, and shortly after the players were charged, he said, "There is no doubt." He said it was racially motivated. And then when he was disbarred because he withheld DNA evidence that would have helped the players, but that never came out.
People have a right to, but there has to be a severe penalty when people go out there and just make up stuff, lie, and destroy people's
and ruin
lives. You know, I think about the lady, what was she, 80-something? The lady that falsely accused Emmett Till of them. She was 80-something and she finally admitted that she was lying. And people were like, she shouldn't stand trial for that. Absolutely. I don't care what age you are. When you finally reach your conscience of wanting to tell the truth about a situation, you should be prosecuted. There should be severe penalty. These guys are never going to have their lives back. The damage has been done.
And reframe Emmett Till. He was killed by a. He was killed by.
He was lynched. He was 14 years old. Was falsely accused by a woman. And later on in her life, I think she just died like a year ago. She was in her 80s. She finally came forward and said it was not true. So there's consequences. Now, I'm not saying this is the same in his way because no one was lynched, but their lives were destroyed as well. So there has to be consequences for that. If it's true, let it be litigated in court. I just hope this is a cautionary tale for the media. Don't just run with allegations.
You just reminded me, too. You know what did happen? The coach got fired.
Yes.
Immediately. And he ended up going to another school in Rhode Island, Bryant, and revitalizing that program. But he was considered one of the lead coaches. John Danowski, a fantastic coach, went down there with his son, and they restored the program. But essentially, he gets fired. They find out it's all a lie. Those kids, young, graduate. They can't get jobs. And now they don't want this on their resume. They're hoping their name's not picked up. But this is good news for them.
That's why, I mean, not to make this about God, but the 10 Commandments, he tells us not to do these things to prevent us from hurting ourselves and hurting other people. Says not to lie, not to cheat. There are consequences for these actions.
And you know what she did? At the same time as she admitted that she made up the story, which destroyed their lives.
Right.
She is asking those 3 young men to forgive her.
She is asking for
we can forgive but not forget.
But the captain of the team is actually from my town. And I remember the whole family was like, we will never talk about it.
At first glance, this sounds like a shocking and disturbing story. But as the saying goes, the devil is in the details. Initially, the woman filed a lawsuit accusing Diddy alone. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, she updated her lawsuit to include Jay-Z, claiming he was involved too. This sudden change raised a lot of questions and skepticism.
at a Video Music Awards after party in 2000. In a blistering statement, Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree?" He added, "My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people." Joining us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. There's a lot to unpack here. Joey, I want to start with just the statement from Jay-Z, which is so forceful in its denial. I just read a teeny part of it. It's long, where he says that they should file a criminal complaint. Is that even possible at this point?
So based on the allegations, Jessica, good morning. Good to see you. I think that it certainly could be. Why do I say that? Now, he, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement.
Yeah.
He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down, raped her, and that, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors. And if true, right, you could pursue it criminally. Now, with respect to the evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right, more than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right, in addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her in distress. Number three, that she phone called her dad, who showed up, the 13-year-old, and now removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law, but if true, it could rise to the level of criminality, and, you know, we'll see what happens, or if the DA looks and investigates.
So what happens now?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint, and in a civil
Why the skepticism? Because her story has some glaring inconsistencies. For one, she claimed she spoke with musicians Benji Madden and his brother at the party. However, representatives for the Maddens confirmed they were on tour in the Midwest at the time of the VMAs, so how could they have been there? Adding to the doubts, the woman said her father drove her home that night. But according to reports, her father has no recollection of making the 5-hour drive back from New York City.
is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right? Before that, just briefly, there was a demand letter sent. And a demand letter is a letter being sent by a lawyer saying, hey, I don't have to sue you. We can sit, we can mediate it. If we reach an agreement, it never sees the light of day. Jay-Z saying, I don't care about your demand letter. I look at it as blackmail. You want to sue me, sue me. You want to look at it criminally, look at it criminally, but it'll go through the fact-finding process. If a trial is necessary to determine the facts, that's what will happen, but it'll be deemed civil. No indication at this point as to whether or not any criminal investigation will ensue as a result of this.
Yeah, and Jay-Z came back incredibly forcefully against these allegations and really singled out that attorney as well for being, I'm paraphrasing here, but greedy, saying he's out to get money, and calling that letter essentially blackmail.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Jessica, also suing the attorney, saying he's intimidating. Is they send them out as a matter of protocol and practice so that you can expedite the process. At the same time, there's certain ethical standards that you have to use, and you have to have a good faith factual belief that this is true. Now, you can argue this complaint was filed in October, right? Could have mentioned Jay-Z then. You didn't. Why? It was amended now to include him. Are the factual assertions true? Are they fact or fiction? Is it a money grab or not? All of that will be litigated in a court of law, but according to Jay-Z, this never happened, is pure fiction. It is a money grab, and he's fighting for his name, reputation, and certainly innocence and justice in his view, which is he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you touch on a point, too, that I wanted to ask you about, which was that this was an amended This was an amendment to this already existing lawsuit. What are people to take away from that? The fact that they're coming back and adding to this now with this specific name.
Yeah, you know, Jessica, so it depends. That's also common. You could amend lawsuits, right, as a matter of course, and you do, to include certain factual allegations. The interesting thing to me in terms of your question and the takeaway, if you had this information about Jay-Z, it happened allegedly in September of 2000, why not include it in the original complaint? What happened between October and now that necessitated you putting in, and it's a question of credibility. Was he celebrity A, right, as was noted in the October complaint? Is this pure fiction? And what's interesting in the complaint is he really, that is the lawyer, tries to tie Jay-Z to Mr. Combs in so many ways, right? Birds of a feather is the argument that he's making. You can make that argument. You need the facts to sustain it. Let's see if they come up with any facts.
Then there's the issue of her late friend, who she claimed drove her to the awards show, with no way to confirm her presence at the VMAs. This detail adds even more doubt to her story. Despite admitting to some errors in how she remembered that night, the woman still insists her allegations are true. However, the inconsistencies have only deepened the skepticism surrounding her claims.
The Jay-Z accuser came out and said that maybe she got some things wrong about the story. I cannot believe this happened, but we all knew, and we did a lot of research into the background of what happened surrounding this entire lawsuit, and things sounded fishy. We're going to get into the story right now. Check this out. Shout out to NBC News for this. This is absolutely insane.
You should always advocate for yourself and be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a
think that I've been quiet long enough about what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet, but it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000 to catch a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
So we talked about that.
No, with having autism is
oh no, not that she has autism. This story just gets crazier. So an autistic 13-year-old was running around the music awards. Come on.
is like feeling
this is
like
insane,
you
guys.
live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000 VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan, a more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman said,
so the friend is dead, and she drove 5 hours to the music awards.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background. So
this is insane.
It was just something to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
And again, y'all, this is why you should be innocent until proven guilty. This is why. Anybody could come out and make these allegations, especially when your counterpart or your acquaintance is under these type of investigations and criminal charges. People might look at you a certain way and see an easy ticket.
while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in and rapes me. Well, at that point, I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the.
She says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind.
So her father said,
stop the cap.
This didn't happen, baby. I don't know what you're talking about. So her father's calling her a liar. Jeez.
Said, when we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph.
We don't care about no dang polygraph.
Enter Jay-Z. The hip-hop mogul didn't mince words when responding to the accusations. In a fiery statement, he called out the woman's lawyer, Tony Busby, accusing him of filing a false complaint for fame and money. Jay-Z declared, "True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory." He also criticized the lawyer for recklessly filing such serious allegations without properly verifying the evidence.
Shorty says she talked to somebody. Reason why she talked to the person is because he had a tattoo, and she was either familiar with the tattoo. Familiar with the tattoo or whatever because of she had a religious background and maybe that tattoo was a symbol of that religious background, so maybe it was something to strike up a conversation. But the people she says she talked to wasn't there.
Time at the afterparty in VMAs, and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after-party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in. Well, at that point, I was fighting, trying to get away from him. And
now, let's go. Let me keep going.
He put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, stop.
To a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress. In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, this incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory.
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of being chastised by their fans.
This is some retarded asshole, bro. Oh, my bad. I mean, I shouldn't say that word. I mean, come on, bro. Like, Tony Busby, gang. You gonna have to come better, bro. This is the type of person you shouldn't even want to put in front of the media. What the hell going on over there with you? This chick slower than Franklin the Turtle. Stop playing. We ain't finna believe nothing she's saying. Stop playing. We not finna believe this shit. I'm sorry. This joint slower than Franklin the Turtle. You could tell missing a few screws. Ain't the brightest light bulb and ain't the sharpest knife. Stop playing with us. No matter how much Illuminati Jay-Z is, we can't agree with the fake and the fraudery. This don't sound too good. And Tony Busby, you dead wrong. When she showed up to your goddamn office telling you this bullshit story and you heard her voice, you should have showed her back to whatever mental health facility she came from, nigga. God don't like ugly, nigga. After you heard 15 seconds, come here, ma'am. Get back in your wheelchair. We're going to wheel you back to the goddamn. How the hell she get out? She having imaginary conversations with people that wasn't at the places. Get this joint back. Now, this is my personal thought. I believe of some of what Tony Busby was saying. This is the accuser's story. I do believe Jay-Z's been. I think Jay-Z know who this is already. I think Jay-Z been doing what Jay-Z, a billionaire with 79 investigators, are doing. You know what that is? Figuring out who she is, calling up every friend, everything, and probably also hitting up people around her, and she's probably felt or gotten harassed by some investigator.
Jay-Z isn't just speaking out, he's taking action. His attorney, Alex Spiro, has officially asked the court to dismiss the case, citing the woman's lack of credibility. Spiro remarked, "It's shocking that a lawyer would file such a serious complaint without proper vetting, only to make it worse by spreading this false story in the press. It's safe to say they're not holding back in calling out the other side."
There's so much to discuss here. Let me bring in our law enforcement analyst this hour. She is a law enforcement expert. She's also a trial consultant. Sunny Slaughter on the program. Sunny, good morning to you. We talked about this. When that suit was first filed. We were all wondering, who are these celebrities? Who is this man who's alleged to have raped this child, as Diddy is alleged to have raped this child? And who is this female celebrity who's alleged to have watched these rapes happen? What's your reaction, please, to this allegation being brought against Sean Carter and him not wanting to settle this?
Good morning, Julie. Here we go again. Here we go with this case and the unfolding of it. So when it comes to Sean Carter being named, we've been hearing the rumblings and the ramblings that it could be him, that he could have something to do with this, and now the name is out. I have to agree with him. If that is necessary in this case. Although it might be 24 years old, the allegations, we investigate cases that are 24 years old as law enforcement, and I think we need to see clear eyes and take down the temperature with the hype and get into the investigative material and start with Homeland Security Investigations, who has the expertise, who did the execution of the search warrant on Sean Puffy Combs stuff, and let's get into it that way as opposed to having mediation. These are criminal allegations, and we should not take them lightly, and particularly based on the age of the individual, and there could be others allegations.
Right, Sonny. And excellent points here. And let's keep taking it a step further. So you said this is a valid point, and I agree. I agree. I said it to my colleague, our senior producer on the show, Eric Goldson, when he said Jay-Z makes this point about why isn't this criminal? And I said, yeah, he's right. And I looked up the law. So the New York Child Victims Act, sometimes we hear it referred to as the CVA, a wonderful piece of legislation that opens up the window of the statute of limitations, right? Statutes of limitations, bar. And it does it in both civil court and in criminal court. And Sonny, you're familiar with this. So I'm doing the math here. This is alleged to have occurred in the year 2000. Okay, we're in 2024, and the statute of limitations is still open for a criminal case. According to what I'm seeing online, it's 28 years. There's still 4 more years that this can be filed, and this is just the filing. And you know that, Sonny. Just got to get the filing in, and then the prosecution can commence. So I'm curious your thoughts on that, Sonny, as an investigator. There's been a personal choice by this now woman, then 13-year-old complainant, who has chosen to go the civil route with attorney Tony Busby to get justice instead of going to investigators that we know of. Tony Busby could have said something publicly in response to Jay-Z's comment that, well, she has reported it or something, but to our knowledge, there has been no report. What does that say to you when an alleged victim isn't choosing to go the criminal route?
So it could say multiple things, and one of those could be that maybe as a young person or as someone more mature, they did try that, and they had some type of negative encounter with law enforcement where they may not have been believed. Sometimes that does happen, and that could have made it impossible for this alleged victim to feel comforted by what law enforcement would and could do. However, with all of the spotlight now on the other case, now tying this into this case, they might feel like there's more leverage, and maybe they don't want to go to court and testify in a trial. However, I think it is the wrong thing to do at any place when we think that criminal charges against someone where there's an alleged victim that was a child, a minor at the time. I do not think that lawyers should take this tactic. I know they're defending their clients, but I do think that we need an investigation into this case. There is still the parents. We need to find out, where were the parents with this child? Who else did she tell? There's so many nuances that are not explained. I just don't think that we can say, okay, it's going to be a civil complaint, ignore the criminal charges. And like you said, we still have a 4-year window where charges could be filed, but we need to get to those first before we start talking about having a mediation.
Diddy, already dealing with multiple lawsuits and an upcoming trial, has also come out swinging. His lawyer, Tenny R. Duros, called this case part of a larger money grab against the music mogul, pointing to over 50 false claims made against him in recent weeks.
And Brooklyn's own Jay-Z has become the first billionaire rap artist.
Live from Bedford-Stuyvesant, the livest one, representing BK to the fullest.
According to Forbes magazine, the rapper, whose real name is Sean Carter, has a net worth of at least $1 billion. Jay-Z is also a streaming music mogul and owner of a sports management company. Forbes says he has a $70 million stake in Uber and a $70 million art collection.
Jay-Z famously said once, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman."